This is Warren Vanderhill interviewing Meyer Becker, Muncie Jewish Oral History Project 2, and the date is February 3, 2003. Meyer, to begin, I want to thank you for your willingness to participate in my study, and I'd like to begin with a question that's kind of a general question, and that is to ask you why you first came to Muncie, and if you might have had other options when you made the decision to come here.
No, I did not have an option. When I decided to come to Muncie, it was due to employment, and the employment turned out to be very lucrative for me. In addition, that there was nothing, well, there was just nothing around. There was one other company I contacted to see if I could get with them, but they didn't have an opening. They said I could use me possibly in the near future, but it didn't mature. And when you're looking for ways of eating and sleeping comfortably, all those
This is an insurance?
Insurance, yes. Okay. I was claims adjuster for Trans-American and the claims service office manager. As I say, I arrived in 1964, and I've enjoyed Muncie ever since. And
that's sort of my second part of this question. What did you think of Muncie when you first came here?
Well, I knew it was a smaller community.
Where'd you come from?
From Indianapolis.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Indianapolis. I knew no one excepting one family in Muncie. You may have heard that name, Sam Dobro.
Sure.
And Sam took me under his wing when I got in Muncie. I came to Muncie, excuse me. And basically, when I worked for Trans-America, I did not really work Muncie area. I worked Madison County, Henry County.
So you were out on the road.
I was on the road quite a bit, and I enjoyed it very much. And I knew more about Anderson at the time because working that, knew the ins and outs than I did Muncie. Muncie grew on me in time. I joined the Temple, joined what was then called, Sam Dauber said I ought to join Green Hills.
Right.
Well, I wasn't a golfer. I didn't think golf was for, like most people thought, was for fools and idiots to go out there and chase a little white ball.
A good walk spoiled, someone would say.
Right. And but finally I became a good golfer and enjoyed it. Couldn't get enough, as they say. Okay. But Muncie grew on me to the point of I saw a lot of the changing times, and I was disappointed with the political standpoint in Muncie. Really, I was never happy with that because everything was always done, in my eyes, that it was always chopped up here and chopped up there. Nothing was ever level and taken into consideration and thought out. That was my opinion. But after the years, it changed in time. Like a gentleman used to be with WLBC, I can't think of his name now. If I was an artist, I'd paint his face. But he sent a questionnaire to my wife and I, what we think we need in Muncie. At the time, and that was, I got married in 69, and at the time, I think it was around 72 or 74, something like that, when the questionnaire came out, I wrote back and I said, we need a high-rise professional building in downtown Muncie, and with parking underneath.
Okay.
Well, it never matured.
Yeah, right.
And he always saw me later on in Delaware and tell me that my idea was good, but never came to pass. Now they're trying to refurbish downtown again. So, like I said, just foresight was not there with a lot of people.
Well, do you think those are the most significant ways in which Muncie's changed, that perhaps the political situation's changed, and now they're trying to revive downtown?
I think part of it is I don't like the politics way it goes on in Muncie. It's excuse me. It's better than probably the most, but could be worse in other areas. And it's you live and learn, but I never got into politics. I condemn it sometimes. I probably had never taken a step across the line to better. And that's my fault, but no one else's fault but mine.
How would you describe your life as a member of a Jewish community, or it may have been plural Jewish communities, before you came to Muncie?
Well, I came from an Orthodox family, which most Jewish people have really started from the Orthodox area. When I came to Muncie, the only thing available was Bethel Temple. And if you wanted to pray, you'd go there or drive back and forth to Indianapolis. And I didn't like that long jog. I'd go all day long, and I didn't want to drive anymore. And you were welcomed in the community. I mean, it's like, how the best describe it is that you have to put your effort forward to be accepted. It's always been my opinion anywhere you go. If you're in a private club or in the organization, you have to make the effort. People there are already stabilized and they don't need you per se, but I got into it and started working with the temple and became involved and enjoyed it very, very much. And they had a great deal of deals. There was a lot of things they did prior to my coming, which I heard was very, very lovely, when the women would cook on Friday nights, and you've probably heard this already. Yeah. But when I came there, the community was not large at all. Being a Reformed community, it was a different atmosphere that I grew up in.
Yeah, sure.
And which I enjoy the Reformed now than I did the Orthodox per se, as I don't practice as I should the way, but I do. I mean, I do participate. I do take the services. I am a vice president of the temple, been a vice president, been house chairman, but I enjoy it. Let's say I mean the temple itself, and people are very congenial, I think. I mean, in my opinion, being a small community, you have to be. I guess.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. How important would you say that Temple Bethel is in your life right now?
Well, it's how important. I feel it's a necessity in my life. Now, I'm not married to a Jewish girl, but she participates with me, and I participate times in her endeavor in her religion. So, it's very important that I still continue on carrying on traditions that were instilled in my day of birth, from the day of birth. Part of it, there was a void there. Growing up to the standpoint of working, I didn't get involved all the time, except when I came to Muncie again. And that's when I came to Muncie is when I really got involved. Okay. And I've been enjoying it ever since, and trying to keep the ship afloat, as they say.
Well, we'll ask a few more questions about the ship and its floating ability. Yeah. Since you mentioned your wife, one of the things that struck me in this research project, much more so than the one I did 23 years ago, is the very important role of non-Jewish spouses in Temple Bethel. Would you comment on that? I mean, when I interviewed people 23 years ago, that really wasn't an issue. You really didn't, except for Beulah Lazar, you didn't really have any non-Jewish spouses who were really active in the congregation. Now you've got a lot of them.
Right. My wife doesn't participate per se, but she sees that, when we have services that we attend, she's religious that way. And for me, it's quite not a radical change, but there is quite a change here that you, we have a saying that anyone's welcome. We do not, the word, Sam, the right word for this, we do not encourage you, if you're non-Jewish, to convert. Right. That's strictly on your own. Right. In other words, that is, we will accept it. Once you're willing to make that position, we will accept you wholeheartedly and help you all along the line in order to. But it seems like it's working out very good. There's not any problems there whatsoever. There's not been any sly or side remarks.
No, I think that's definitely true.
And but
it's a very welcoming congregation.
it is. We welcome folks. You know, we're a small community, like you say.
Yeah.
And we got to encourage people. We try to encourage people from Anderson, Marion, or Richmond, and we're one of the few temples that are reformed that only has a student rabbi. A lot of them don't get it because the rabbinical side of the ledger is that there's not that many students going into what we call the yeshiva, the school of learning, and it's sad. And unfortunately, the real sad part is that we can't afford a full-time rabbi.
Save that. That's one of my questions for later.
Okay.
The next question I want to ask is one that I asked the participants in this study 23 years ago because it was a big issue, and you've been around Muncie long enough to know why it was. Namely, when I did the study 23 years ago, I asked all the participants to talk about relationships in the Muncie community between Jewish people and non-Jewish people, and that was really a big issue. I mean, there were places where Jews couldn't live. There were clubs that Jews couldn't belong to.
Delaware was one of them.
I'm asking the question in this study because really, I want to see if you think that today, in 2003, this is much of an issue in Muncie anymore.
No, I don't think the issue is there. The Jewish community has made inroads, as they say. We participate in the non-Jewish areas. We help in many areas if it's all possible. It was, like you say, Delaware was a no-no. I belong to Delaware, and a few others. Well, Dobros did belong to Delaware, and they both have passed. Our son Edward belonged there. And Dobros was the first family, I think, that got into Delaware after Green Hills. I don't know if you remember Green Hills.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you would remember those days.
Yeah, I've been here 37 years.
So you remember Green Hills.
Okay. A lot of history here.
But it depends where you go. I think you're going to get remarks made by. I used to have a remark made when I was settling claims. I'm going to Jew you down. Well, I looked at it and I said, okay, well, what am I going to do? Start an argument with this person? That's what he or she has been taught over the years, and right now I'm in a negotiating standpoint, so I want to get this resolved, and maybe then. Well, but I got the word back to him afterwards, after it was all over. But and then they always used to say, well, if you don't pay me, I'm going to get an attorney. I said, well, I sleep with one every night.
Either a judge.
And so they look at me kind of, well, these are things. I don't think there's. You're always going to have the anti-Semitic. You're always going to hear the remarks. It doesn't make any difference where you go. You can go in New York in the middle of the Jewish area, and you're going to hear one of your own say something to you. But Muncie has gotten away, and we have a number of friends that. I have a number of friends, as I say, Jewish and non-Jewish, that when there's a party, they invite us, and not because they take sympathy for us, it's just the fact that they want us around and enjoy it, and I enjoy their companies, and we go and we'll call for dinners and go out together with folks and play golf together, and I mean, you're still going to find it. Yeah, it's unfortunate. But from the day then I came in 64, it was a tougher situation. Yeah. That's why supposedly, as you know, Green Hills was formed because, and then it opened up to non-Jewish families for the simple reason they were short again. Here we are Monday. There we go again.
Well, you mentioned some comments because the second part of the question I've been asking people is whether they've experienced any direct, overt, or covert anti-Semitism in their lives.
Oh, I don't feel like it's a knife digging type of situation.
Okay.
It's remarks, just like I said, made that and even some of my close friends have made, says, you're going to Jew him down, Meyer.
Yeah.
I says, well, that's all right. I says, what you're saying to me is a mere fact that they're smarter than you. I mean, you get it's an idea, let's just let it go by. And it's not meant by any digging or any tones of voices will tell you a lot more than the words that are spoken.
Yeah, as to how vicious the comment
how it
is.
is. So, I've had it said to me, but you let it roll, and you walk up to them, or you could. I've had instances where I have explained to people, I'm Jewish. Let me explain something to you. Now, what you said, really, you don't know what you said. Yeah. And they say, what do you mean? I says, when you say you're going to do me down, what does it mean? You tell me.
Right.
And they can't explain it.
Yeah.
So,
I understand.
And after that, we became friends. So it's, if you go with somebody with a negative attitude, you're not going to get a positive attitude.
Yeah.
So, that's...
I understand. But certainly in the 23 years since I did the last study, relationships between Jewish people in Muncie and non-Jewish people have changed considerably.
Oh, totally. I mean, see, I worked, like as I said earlier, I worked in around the Muncie area, per se, and I worked, it's a slang word, I know it's the redneck areas too, but and I never had no problems. I walked into places in Elwood where the Ku Klux Klan was there. I walked in, I didn't. Maybe I was done by doing it, but no one attacked me or no one said anything to me. I didn't have a Star of David around my neck saying, here I am. But I think it's the way you carry yourself, the way you present yourself, that people will accept you for what you are. And you could be, I guess, the king or queen of England, and you could be well disliked.
Well, I'm smiling because she has her own problems.
So I understand.
Good example.
So
let me switch it a little bit. Since you're so active in the congregation, how do you see the future of Temple Bethel?
Well, the people we have in there presently are not what you call old people per se. There's some age, like myself, 73, and I think there'll always be a Bethel Temple. Okay. They will carry on the idea of what is needed for a community, a Jewish community, that is. And I hopefully, 20 years from now, which I know I won't be here, but that it'll still be continually growing. We always, it sounds crazy to this off the record per se, we have every year a deficit spending a budget.
Marty Schwartz has made me aware of that.
Oh, has he made you? Well, okay. All right.
Like a lot of churches.
Okay. And we, fortunately, knock on wood, as they say, we have come through it. And we have been fortunate that we're getting professional people in the Muncie where we didn't have those before. Lawyers, doctors.
That's one of my questions, too.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
You're very good at anticipating this.
Okay.
How important to the future of the temple do you think the new building addition is?
It's very important. We use it a great deal now. It's helped us to get the community together stronger than it was in participation. Now, everybody doesn't, we have roughly about 52 to 55 families that are Jewish and non-Jewish, and then we have some converting, by the way, right now. And it's going to be, and they're going to carry on from there, and hopefully it's hard to say, I wish I had that crystal ball to give you the answer to some of these things.
Well, I'm getting it. You're anticipating me very, very well, because my next question is, If there were to be a kind of Meyer Becker wish list that might help ensure the future of Temple Bethel, what kinds of things would you put on your wish list?
Well, I wish we could increase the membership, number one. That'd be one of my wishes, because then my second wish would be we could afford the rabbi, which would be ideally for a community to, I think it glues the congregants together.
Okay, that was my question.
Have somewhere
why is that so important to people?
Well, you have somewhere to go to discuss a problem that you may not want to discuss with your closest friend.
Or a student.
Or a student, basically, as they say.
Is that an age thing for a lot of people? The students are so young that you might not want to discuss a problem with a student.
They don't mind discussing problems, but it's not major problems. I mean, it's the level is down here, it's down low, as opposed to way up here. Like, what would I do if my wife wanted to divorce me? Would I go to the student rabbi and say, what do I do now? How do I get out? No, I wouldn't do that. But if my wife said to me, we got to go do something tonight, it's Friday night, but I said I want to go to temple. Well, she said, I wish we could do this other. But you ask the rabbi why if we can't go, you know, that's something like that. I mean, just off base record, comment. But no, there's that wish list, and seeing that once the community grows, naturally we'll have growth, we'll have monetary growth. We have a number of members who do not even pay dues, which unfortunately are very, very minimal and can afford it. And there's others who pay more that God has been good to them and they've been fortunate, and they do not mind sharing their good fortune. And we give. And I know when I first came to Muncie, I gave very little because my job just relatively new, and I wasn't making that money. Now I've increased every year. Fortunately, I can do those things, and that's the thing. Is that, but the wish list is that also that the community could retain their children that are here, because what happens, and as you see in most communities, Muncie, they leave. It's sad. You're losing, I call the strength of the future. That's maybe, and we have people who don't understand the Hebrew part of it, and they're upset about it. Well, we finally explain to them, when you read the Hebrew, right below it is all in English, the translations, you know. And we used to have a great deal of, I might be getting ahead of myself here, a great deal of, not too much, there's primary more in English, the services, more than Hebrew.
Right.
Well, when we got a few more of the professionals coming from the East, they wanted more Hebrew. Well, okay, so you try and satisfy it. But the wish list is that we continue to grow, and hopefully that they'll be here 100 years from now as well.
Well, this, excuse me, you really, in several ways, gotten onto my last question, which is my working hypothesis, and that is, if it had not been for Ball State University and Ball Memorial Hospital bringing a considerable number of people to Temple Bethel, there might not be a lot of future for Temple Bethel. I mean, do you think that's valid?
That could be very, very valid, because in retrospect to that question, our Jewish businesses are no longer in Muncie. They're all long gone and void. I'd say there'd be a problem. I think there's always going to be a temple, in my opinion, hopefully I think so, I'd see that. But it is instrumental of more of the professional persons coming in, Ball State and Ball Memorial Hospital, helping bring in the professionals there. And that's, as they say, has beefed up the pillar.
Well, what struck me as I looked at the directory compared with now and 23 years ago, is that it's not only a considerable number of people who have come here to be part of Ball State or to be part of Ball Hospital community. It's brought a lot of diversity to the congregation because of where these people come from.
True.
That is to say that a lot of them are from the East, or they're from the West Coast, or they're around Chicago. And to me, this brings a diversity of opinion and a diversity of viewpoint that might not have been present 23 years ago.
Right, it's true. You're correct on that statement. There is a diversity, and it means a great deal, and it's helped. And we have, let's see, Ann Eliana's president, the doctor, and her husband. John doesn't participate per se in our religious aspect of it, but there again, Ann has two beautiful children, and they're smarter than two whips as far as I'm concerned. And unfortunately, they're not going to stay in Muncie, and that's the sad part. We're going to lose that. See, we're going back to the West Side. And then Zimtar's, she was a neurosurgeon and never didn't practice that.
Now she's a house mom.
Yeah, which.
Well, I think about this because I gave a lecture in a colleague's history class the other day to take another angle on this. And I just happened to mention in passing I was working on this research project in response to a student question, what kinds of research projects are you working on these days, Dr. Vanderhill? And so I mentioned this one, and a young lady raised her hand, an honors college student, and she said, well, I belong to Temple Bethel. I'm part of the Hillel group. And I think that's another area that is very important for the future of Temple Bethel.
True, which we didn't have many years ago. And we're very instrumental in trying to helping them. And Sherry Kloss, who's in charge of Hillel, and very talented person. And how long she'll stay here, I don't know. I mean, we lost the Rossamoras. I don't know.
I know Rossamoras, and Weintraub's.
And
so you exchange one violin for another.
Right. Weintraub had, her idea was a lot different than most of us. We had that difference of opinion there. It was the old story that we used to say, there's only that two Jews can agree with the third can give to the temple.
I've heard that before.
I've heard it before. We lost some, and unfortunately, when you lose it. And some have gone to Indianapolis. They wanted more traditional Orthodox, not quite. They're in conservative, not right Orthodox. But in Indianapolis, they do have conservative, Orthodox, and Reform.
Right. Which you would expect in a city the size of
that size. Yeah, you got over 10,000 Jews in Indianapolis, so they can pick and choose, you know. Muncie, you have only one game, and that's Bethel Temple.
Right.
You want that, and that's it. I enjoyed the relationship. I enjoy working on the board. There's times there's frustration. There's all get up and go. You think for a community this size and a budget that we have, there's a lot of discussions going on and everyone in different areas of Judaism was always asking for money per se, which probably happens in
it happens in every church, every parish,
So I think about, well, we give as much as we can, we do what we can to try to help. But it's every pebble presents itself a chance to build the rock.
Yeah, no question.
So I think, I hope in my own mind that I'm correct, and I still see what's going to be there. Now, if the professional people, after many years, they want to retire, why are they going to stay in Muncie? I don't know.
I don't think Ball State or the hospital are going anywhere. So
I don't think so.
I think the two of them, as importers of talent, are going to continue to do what they've been doing over the past several years.
Right. I'm appreciable to what is going on there. We did have Doc Zebart, who's a close friend of mine.
Yeah, sure.
He brought in a gastroenterologist, and his wife didn't like Muncie.
Oh, okay.
No.
Happens at the university too.
Yeah, well, it's because Muncie's doesn't have the theaters and doesn't have the restaurants and doesn't have all the shopping areas.
Yeah.
Well, you look at it this way: it's not too far to go to Indianapolis. Chicago's not that far.
Well, we've always found that you can get to Chicago pretty easy.
Yeah, from here it's a 4-hour drive, I guess, and anymore. It just there's one like I know lived right across the street from Delaware from Ball Corporation.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
the guy that that's right. The guy that brought it as a CEO. I remember that.
And she's been wonderful.
That's right.
He spent over $1 million fixing the house. So
yeah, I do recall that.
yeah, so that's But I like the smaller community now. It sounds crazy to you.
No, it doesn't actually. Even though I'm from New York City, I've been here 37 years and like it quite a bit.
To me, I can get from my home to any part of Muncie in matter at the worst 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If I lived in Indianapolis, it would take me 40 minutes to get across town. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I never would get across town.
Yeah, right.
And here I can get across town, and like I say, anywhere I want to go. I can go out to the Alps, go out to Delaware,
Sure.
Moose, or go to anywhere, go to dinner.
Yeah.
And Muncie, has some nice restaurants. It's unfortunately, and Delaware is being better now since we lost some good restaurants. Foxfire was an excellent restaurant.
Right. I'm still mourning that.
Yeah, that's IHOP did not really have the same atmosphere. Doesn't have the same atmosphere. But then again, you go over to Bongi's. You ever been there?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good restaurant.
Yeah, there's some good ones, but what I call the rural restaurants here in Indianapolis.
And it's so people who want to find something wrong, you can do. You can. I don't care. Unfortunately, we lost Ball Corporation to Denver.
Yeah.
Well, that to me is sad. I mean, we didn't lose any from our temple, unfortunately.
Right.
Well, yeah, we did. Schlesinger was one. Yeah. Al Schlesinger.
Yeah.
He was. We lost him.
Yeah.
But it happens, and the community lost. Not only we at the temple, but the community lost in that respect.
Yeah. Oh, no question.
And so, but in the aspect of community, I find that it's a good community. The community tries to do things that invite you to do things. It's up to you. If you want to go, you go. If you don't want to go, the only thing I have about Emmons Auditorium is that there's no parking. That's the only bitch I have.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
That's a problem. They didn't foresee down the road this was going to happen. Maybe they'll correct that one of these days somewhere along the line. They'll build a 50-story parking lot. They're
trying to build one right up the street here.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So it's no, that's the only thing I can say about it.
Okay.
And the college is there for education, and it's a good college, and it offers a great deal. So the community itself. So if any Jewish family was thinking about coming to Muncie, that's where I would start to take it first.
Yeah.
I would take them towards the college, towards the hospital. There's things of necessity, of education. God forbid you're sick even. And
well, a lot of new faculty that come here have told me, who are part of the Temple Bethel community, that when they were considering a job offer at Ball State, that they early on in that process wanted to be sure there was a congregation here. So I mean, the congregation is a real draw for a number of people who come here who are of the Jewish faith and want to be part of that kind of community. There's no question about that.
Very true. And it's unfortunately, like I say, we do not have the facilities like Rabbi Anna's secretary that's there all the time, which we have we try to resolve that by having an answering machine and someone to check every day, check the calls, and be sure to return the calls so you won't get it next month. We meet once a month.
Right.
That the calls were for next month.
Yeah.
Last month, I should say. So we're slowly working.
Yeah.
And
well, I know there's some ideas kicking around that even have to do with the possibility of getting a full-time rabbi. So I mean, it's not that people aren't doing anything.
No,
they're trying to think of some possibilities.
We are approaching Ball State.
Yeah, right. I'm aware of that. Which I think is a good idea.
and hopefully that they'll give a chair somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
I can talk to David Searcy, but I don't think he'd want to.
Yeah.
He's already got one chair.
Yeah, right. Well, that's right. That's the one.
Sherry.
That's Sherry Clausen's. Yeah, that's
Clausen's.
right. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you very much for participating in the study. And at the end, I always ask all of the participants if there's anything else that they'd like to add, any other comments or points that you'd like to bring up that we might not have covered.
I can't think of anything at this time, but just
Okay.
as soon as I walk out the door, I'll think of 4 or 5 things to do.
Well, be sure to call me.
Okay, but no, I think the only thing I can say is that I think we'll be here we're here 100 years, we'll be here maybe another 100 years,
Okay.
hopefully. And hopefully that the temple will grow and prosper in the way a temple should grow.
Okay.
And with more participants and more children and a rabbi.
Thank you very much, Meyer.
You're welcome.